So this is to show how to change the handedness of an interior lock set. This is an interior passage door that does lock. It does have a little locking function. So if all that's available, let's say, are left-hand sets and you need a right-hand set, that's exactly what we're doing here. This is a left-handed set, and unfortunately there were no right-handed sets available, so no problem, we can just switch this over. I apologize for the squeaking stool. So we take our parts out of our box and we can see we have the two halves of our lock set here. We have the interior half and the exterior half. This would go on the outside of the room. This would go on the inside of the room. So these are, whatever, we'll call them identical. We really only need to work with one. So I'll set one over to the side here. We can see that we need to change the direction of the movement here. So if we're looking at the back of our set, we got a few components that we're going to have to manipulate a little bit. The first component that matters is a spring. We can see our spring right here. It rests against this boss, wraps around the shaft that is the door handle. So it wraps around that shaft and it will, underneath all these other components, lock into place into one of these keyways on this shaft. The spring provides tension so that the door handle will always return to what's supposed to be its closed position when the door is closed. The spring ensures that that returns to its final place. The next component that matters is our, well, I'm going to call it our stop. It's really kind of a washer. It's this silver washer here with these two pawls on it. Kind of looks like a cat or something. So the purpose of these two pawls on this stop, they provide positive stops against this same boss to provide stops for the end of our swing of motion on this door handle. So in the closed position, you can see this pawl is resting against the boss. When we go to open the door, we grab our door handle, we swing it open, and the other pawl comes. Once that pawl hits the boss, you can't turn the handle any further. You get about 45 degrees range of motion there. And those two stops at the 0 point and at the 45 point, we'll call them, are because of this stop right here, this washer with these two pawls on it. The next component that matters is this little gold washer right here. This is, for the most part, just a little bit of a bushing to provide extra purchase against our stop washer. With our final component that matters, our split ring. So this split ring is this black component here. Has these little two holes in it. This is an external snap ring. There is a groove that we really can't see too well because it's currently being occupied by the split ring, but there is a groove in the shaft and the split ring sits in that groove, and that just keeps everything placed down firmly so that we don't have components floating around in there. So basic tools are really all that we're going to need. I've got my little pick here just to point things out. May come in handy for separating some components here or there if need be. However, you can accomplish the same thing probably with a nice small flathead screwdriver. This is as cheap a screwdriver as you can possibly get. So certainly nothing fancy there. The only tool that I suppose people may potentially consider a specialty tool are a pair of snap ring pliers. So these are snap ring pliers. They're not expensive. So what these do is, if you look at our snap ring, it has these two tiny little holes in it. In order to get this ring off, we need to separate these holes. We need to basically spread this out. That will increase the diameter of this snap ring, at which point we can lift it out over this shaft right here. So a simple set of snap ring pliers. You can kind of see they have these two little bosses on the end here. Those will sit inside those little holes of the snap ring, and we can squeeze our snap ring and remove it from our shaft. So what we're going to do is we're going to remove this snap ring, remove these components, the washer, the stop, which there's only one way. You'll see in a minute. You can see right here, hopefully in silver, these two little silver tabs are part of our stop. So these are basically two little keys that sit down in this keyway. So it really only goes on in two ways. That's it. You can put it on one way or a second way, and that's it. So what we're going to do is disassemble this. We're going to take off the snap ring, take off our washer, take off our stop, and then we're going to take off our spring. What we're going to do is reassemble it by flipping our spring over so that this leg of the spring will sit on the opposite side of the boss. All we have to do is flip it over in order to make that happen. And our stop, we are likewise going to flip over so that these two pawls align on this side of the boss. So this pawl will rest against this side of the boss, and this pawl will rest out here. All we have to do is flip them over, that's it. So try to make that happen on camera here. Hopefully you guys can see. I apologize for my hands being probably in your way. This can take a few attempts. It's absolutely fine. These snap rings are kind of a pain in the butt, but they do serve a really good function. So our snap ring, we're going to set that aside. Now we have our little washer. Again, just helps the pick to get underneath it. It's just a very simple little washer. Now we've got our stop. So our stop has to come out. Once our stop is out, this spring will be able to continue to rotate this door handle. So we want to be careful. We don't want to lose any parts, and we don't want things to go flying. So keep some pressure on this. If you have a bench vise, clamp it in a bench vise. Put something really soft like a piece of yoga mat on either side of your handle, something like that, so you don't mar any of the finish. These are absolutely beautiful handles. Gorgeous, gorgeous product. They look great in our house. That said, you don't want to go marring them by clamping them in a bench vise. I do have a bench vise just off camera to me. I will try to do everything on camera without a vise. If you put a little bit of tension on this, you'll see this will lift right out. Nice and easy. Okay, so what we couldn't see from up top, there is another washer. Not a problem. Same idea. We're just going to lift that washer out. And you'll notice the spring is now rotating this handle further. So if I just let go, it makes things much easier. I can now remove this washer. Sorry, I keep blocking the camera for you guys. And finally, we can see our spring in here. So, like we talked about before, it rests against this boss. And the other end, kind of maybe hard to see. is captured in this keyway right here. You can see it wraps around and wraps into this keyway right here. So what we have to do is take this out. So this is our resting orientation for our door handle. All we have to do is flip this over. That's it. So this has to rest against this boss here. Now we just have to rotate to get this into our keyway, which we've done. And that's pretty much all it takes. So we're now going to replace our silver washer. We are now going to flip over our little stop here, our little cat's ears. And carefully, because this is still under tension, we can see that this has now effectively changed our direction of rotation. So we're making sure everything's staying down. We're going to replace our gold washer. Keep everything pressed down as tight as we can because we need to have enough room to get our snap ring back over everything. So I'm going to place our snap ring. And again, I apologize. I'm probably going to block your view of this. This is where the bench vise would come in really handy. I'll expand the ring, press it down. Now I'll use my flathead to put a little downward tension on our spring, on our snap ring rather. And as soon as it finds that groove, it automatically retensions itself. And that's it. We now have a right hand lock set. Pretty simple. You're going to do the exact same process to the other half. Nothing is different. Exact same process. The only other thing you're going to have to consider, this has the little hole, since this is the interior of the room, to lock our door, right? So our little pin would go through here. And on our latch set, we can see there's a little threaded hole right here. This would come through, screw into there, and when you press that, it locks the door. Pull it, it unlocks the door as such. What we're going to have to do is actually change the orientation of the lock. So in order for this, when this wants to close, it needs to be in this orientation for the strike. That is what's going to determine that. You need the rounded edge to make contact with your strike. So that means the pin is going to have to go on this side. Not a big deal. We just take this screw out, and sitting behind this screw, there's a little spacer. Just take those off. Put the spacer on here, put the screw in here. Once you've taken the screw out, this will now thread right into that hole, and you're all set. It's everything you need to do to switch from right hand to left hand or vice versa.